If you thought it was bad, it could get worse. Meghan Markle could be coming back to the United Kingdom.
Late one night in late 2024, Los Angeles International Airport looked calm on the surface, but behind the bright lights, something unusual was unfolding. At a private terminal built for celebrities and high-profile travelers, security cameras recorded a scene that would later fuel intense online debate. A dark SUV entered not through the normal passenger drop-off, but through a cargo access area usually reserved for freight. That detail alone caught attention. Private terminals are designed for privacy, but they still follow strict rules, especially when flights leave the country. Moments later, the rear doors of the SUV opened, revealing 7 large, identical black suitcases. They were not soft travel bags. They were hard, rigid cases, the kind often used to move equipment or valuables. As airport staff began unloading them, it became clear these bags were heavy. One man adjusted his grip. Another struggled to lift a case onto a trolley. When one case briefly slipped and hit the ground, it made a dull, solid sound, not the light thump of clothes. Around this time, a K-9 unit entered the cargo zone. These dogs are trained for specific alerts, including currency. As the dog passed the luggage, it stopped, sat, and refused to move. This is known as a passive alert. According to standard procedure, such alerts usually trigger further inspection. What happened next is what continues to raise questions. After a short conversation and a review of paperwork, the handler pulled the dog away and allowed the luggage to continue toward the aircraft. No public report has confirmed what documents were shown or why the alert was overridden. Cameras then captured Meghan standing nearby under harsh white lights. Instead of waiting inside a lounge, she stayed close to the cargo area, watching each suitcase as it was loaded. Her body language appeared tense. She moved back and forth, touched one of the cases, and kept her eyes fixed on the process. Supporters argue this proves nothing and could simply reflect stress during travel. Critics say it suggests concern over the contents. At this point, no official authority has stated that any law was broken. Still, the footage exists, and the silence surrounding it has allowed speculation to grow. As clips from that night began circulating online, commentators started connecting dots. Some pointed to earlier reports of missing funds tied to media and consulting projects. Others focused on the number of suitcases, 7. Financial experts speaking in general terms have noted that large amounts of cash are surprisingly heavy, especially when broken into mixed bills. According to online claims, the total amount involved may have been around £12 million. It is important to state clearly that this figure has not been confirmed by authorities. It comes from speculation based on weight estimates, alleged paperwork leaks, and unnamed sources. Critics argue that withdrawing such sums in cash would require long-term planning, multiple transactions, and possibly the use of intermediaries. Supporters counter that this theory relies entirely on assumptions. As the story grew, attention shifted beyond Los Angeles. Flight tracking data shared online suggested the private jet later traveled toward the Middle East, with Dubai mentioned frequently. Again, no official customs report has confirmed undeclared cash entering another country. However, the idea that diplomatic status or celebrity influence could smooth travel sparked public anger. Online investigators also focused on a second woman seen on camera, holding documents and speaking with the pilot. Internet sleuths claim she was linked to offshore financial firms, though no verified evidence has been released to support this. Over time, the narrative expanded to include shell companies, consulting contracts, and delayed media projects. Critics believe money moved out quietly under the appearance of normal business spending. Supporters say these claims ignore basic facts and rely on coincidence. One detail that continues to draw attention is paperwork. Cargo manifests, if misdeclared, can carry serious penalties. Alleged descriptions such as theatrical costumes and low declared values became central to the discussion. Legal experts note that if such documents were false, intent would matter. Still, no charges have been announced. What keeps the story alive is not proof, but pattern. To many viewers, the combination of suitcases, alerts, paperwork, and silence feels unsettling. To others, it is a modern example of rumor growing faster than truth in the age of viral video. As speculation intensified, the story widened to include personal and institutional consequences. Commentators began asking how this situation, real or exaggerated, might affect relationships, reputations, and public trust. Some claimed Prince Harry was unaware of financial details until late in the process. Others rejected that idea entirely. Around the same time, quiet changes on official royal platforms were noticed, including removed profiles and updated language. Royal watchers interpreted this as symbolic distance rather than proof of wrongdoing. Meanwhile, legal analysts reminded audiences that rumors are not evidence. Airports generate thousands of alerts every year that lead nowhere. Still, the emotional power of images cannot be ignored. 7 black suitcases under bright lights, a dog that stopped, a handler who moved on, and a passenger watching closely. These visuals created a story that many people now believe represents privilege escaping accountability. Whether that belief is fair remains unanswered. No official statement has confirmed criminal action, yet the debate itself reveals something deeper about public trust. In an era where powerful figures move across borders easily, people demand transparency. They want rules to apply equally. This story continues to spread because it touches that nerve. It is less about one night at LAX and more about how wealth, fame, and status are perceived to operate behind closed doors. Supporters urge caution, reminding viewers how easily edited clips and anonymous claims can mislead. Critics insist the unanswered questions are too serious to ignore. In the end, what happened that night may turn out to be simple, complex, or something in between. Until verified facts replace speculation, the story remains unfinished. And perhaps that is why it holds attention, not because of what is known, but because of what remains unclear. So the question now is not what people believe, but what evidence will ever be publicly confirmed. Until then, the 7 suitcases remain a symbol, interpreted differently depending on where you stand. As the discussion moved beyond airport footage, attention slowly shifted to something less dramatic but far more important: paperwork. Experts often say that money does not disappear because of bags or flights, but because of documents. Forms, invoices, contracts, and approvals tell the real story. According to online claims, several financial records linked to media and consulting projects began raising questions months before the LAX incident. Budgets were approved, payments were sent, yet finished work appeared delayed or incomplete. Supporters argue this is normal in creative industries, where projects change direction often. Critics, however, believe the delays were part of something larger. They claim that money left accounts under normal business labels, then slowly returned in cash through middle layers. Again, it is important to be clear. No court has confirmed this. These are allegations discussed online, not proven facts. What keeps attention focused is the scale. Millions do not move quietly without planning. Banks report large withdrawals. Accountants track expenses. For critics, this suggests that if money truly vanished, it did not happen overnight. It would have taken months. Another point often mentioned is silence. No detailed public explanation has been offered to fully address the airport footage, the K-9 alert, or the paperwork claims. In the digital age, silence becomes its own message. For some viewers, it feels like avoidance. For others, it is simply legal caution. Lawyers often advise clients to say nothing while stories unfold. Meanwhile, Online investigators continue filling gaps with theories. They examine flight paths, corporate filings, and public appearances, looking for patterns. Some claim to see coordination. What cannot be denied is how powerful unanswered questions can be. Once people believe documents exist, even without seeing them, imagination takes over. Every delayed statement, every removed web page, every quiet change becomes part of the story. This is how modern controversies grow. Not always through evidence, but through absence. And as long as official clarity does not arrive, speculation continues to feel like discovery to those who already doubt the system. By this stage, the story is no longer just about one person, one flight, or one airport. It has become a symbol. To critics, it represents privilege moving freely, while ordinary people face strict rules. To supporters, it shows how easily public figures can be targeted by rumor and edited footage. This divide is why the story refuses to fade. In today's world, people do not only wait for courts or officials. They judge through feeling, pattern, and trust. When trust is low, even weak claims feel believable. 7 suitcases under bright lights became more than luggage. They became a picture of secrecy. The dog that stopped became a sign of truth being ignored. The handler pulling it away became, in some minds, proof of influence. Whether those interpretations are fair or not, they show how powerful images can be. Long before any legal result, public opinion often decides the outcome. This is especially true on platforms like YouTube, where emotion drives engagement. The lesson here may be larger than this specific case. It highlights how quickly stories can grow when power, money, and mystery mix. It also shows the danger of jumping to conclusions. False stories have ruined lives before. At the same time, real scandals were once dismissed as rumors too. That tension is why viewers remain hooked. They feel they are watching history unfold in real time, even if the truth is still hidden. Until confirmed facts replace speculation, the story lives in that uncertain space. And uncertainty is powerful. It invites debate. It keeps comments flowing. It makes people feel involved. In the end, the most honest answer may be uncomfortable. We do not yet know what truly happened. The footage alone does not convict anyone. The theories alone do not prove guilt. What remains is a question about transparency and trust. Should powerful people explain more, even when they are not legally required to? Or does silence protect fairness? That question will outlive this story, and as long as it remains unanswered, the image of 7 black suitcases on a quiet airport night will continue to spark imagination, suspicion, and endless discussion. By the time the story reached this stage, it was no longer controlled by facts alone. It was being shaped by headlines, thumbnails, and social media reactions. Videos analyzing the LAX footage appeared everywhere. Some creators slowed the clips frame by frame. Others added dramatic music, red circles, and arrows pointing at the suitcases, the dog, and Meghan's movements. Each new video promised to reveal what others missed. For many viewers, this created the feeling that they were uncovering hidden truth together. In reality, most were reacting to the same limited material. Still, repetition gave the claims strength. When people hear the same idea many times, it starts to feel real, even without proof. Traditional media responded cautiously. Major outlets avoided making direct accusations. Instead, they reported on the controversy itself, describing it as online speculation or unverified claims. To critics, this felt like protection. To supporters, it felt like responsibility. This split revealed something important. Trust in institutions has changed. Many people no longer wait for official confirmation. They believe systems protect the powerful and ignore the public. Because of this, silence from authorities did not calm the situation. It made it worse. Every day without explanation allowed rumors to harden. People asked simple questions that had no clear answers. Why were the suitcases so heavy? Why did the dog stop? Why was the cargo area used instead of the normal entrance? Each unanswered question became fuel. Meanwhile, legal experts tried to bring balance. They explained that K-9 alerts are not proof of crime. Dogs can detect currency because most money carries traces of drugs. They explained that private terminals follow different procedures, and that paperwork can override inspections legally. These explanations mattered, but they spread slower than drama. Emotion always travels faster than logic. For Meghan's supporters, the situation looked like a familiar pattern. A woman under constant scrutiny, judged harshly, and accused without evidence. They argued that her body language was being misread, and that any traveler under bright lights and cameras would appear tense. For critics, the story confirmed long-held suspicions about secrecy and control. Once opinions formed, facts became less important. This is how modern scandals live. Not in courtrooms first, but in comment sections. By the end of this phase, the story had taken on a life of its own. Even if official answers arrived later, many minds were already made up. The LAX night had become a symbol, not an event. When we step back from the details, something becomes clear. This story is not only about 7 suitcases or one airport night. It is about power, perception, and the space between truth and belief. In the past, stories like this would have ended quickly. Without charges or confirmation, they would fade. Today, they grow. Cameras are everywhere. Footage never disappears. And once something is recorded, it can be replayed forever, each time with a new meaning. The internet does not wait for final answers. It builds its own. That is both its strength and its danger. On one hand, it allows ordinary people to question authority. On the other, it can destroy reputations based on incomplete information. This case sits exactly in that uncomfortable middle. There is no clear ending yet, no official ruling that confirms guilt, no detailed explanation that clears all doubt. That uncertainty keeps the story alive. It also teaches an important lesson. Transparency matters more than ever. When powerful people say nothing, others speak for them. When institutions stay quiet, speculation fills the gap. At the same time, restraint matters too. Jumping to conclusions can cause real harm. Innocent people have suffered before because stories felt true before they were proven. This is why viewers must hold 2 ideas at once: skepticism and fairness. It is reasonable to ask questions. It is also reasonable to wait for evidence. The LAX footage may one day be explained fully, or it may remain just another mystery amplified by the internet. Either way, its impact is already real. It has shaped opinions, driven content, and reminded the world how fragile trust has become. In the end, the most honest conclusion is simple. We do not know everything, and pretending that we do would be dishonest. What we can say is that this story shows how quickly narratives form when fame, money, and secrecy meet. It shows how images can outweigh facts and how silence can be louder than denial. Until confirmed information replaces rumor, the night at LAX will remain a question mark. Not a verdict, not proof, just a moment frozen in time, interpreted differently by everyone who sees it. And perhaps that is the real story here. Not what happened inside the suitcases, but what happens inside the public mind when certainty disappears. As the noise slowly fades and the clips stop looping, what remains is not a clear answer, but a set of questions that refuse to go away. This is often how modern stories end, not with a clear conclusion, but with uncertainty. The night at LAX has now been examined from every angle. The footage has been replayed thousands of times. The suitcases, the dog, the lights, the body language, the paperwork, and the silence have all been pulled apart and reassembled by viewers across the world. Yet after all that attention, the truth still feels just out of reach. No official report has publicly confirmed wrongdoing. No clear statement has fully explained what happened either. And that gap between what is shown and what is explained is where stories like this live. For some people, the absence of confirmation feels like proof that something is being hidden. For others, it simply means there is nothing there to reveal. Both views exist at the same time, and neither can fully defeat the other without evidence. What makes this case especially powerful is how familiar it feels. We have seen similar moments before. A short video, a single night, a small number of details that seem ordinary on their own, but suspicious when placed together. In the past, these moments would fade quickly. Today, they become permanent. The internet does not forget. It stores images and emotions together, and every time the story is retold, it grows stronger, not because of new facts, but because of repetition. Each retelling adds confidence, even when certainty is missing. This is not unique to this story. It is how modern narratives are built, especially when powerful people are involved. There is also a deeper human reason why this story holds attention. People want to believe that rules apply equally. Airports, customs, and borders represent order. They are places where everyone is supposed to follow the same rules. When a story suggests that status or fame might change how those rules are applied, it creates anger. Even the suggestion of special treatment can be enough. It touches a nerve. At the same time, public figures live under constant pressure. Every movement is watched. Every pause is judged. What looks suspicious to one person may look normal to another. A tense posture can be read as guilt or stress. Silence can be read as strategy or fear. The truth often depends on perspective. This is why the final judgment cannot be made by emotion alone. It requires verified facts, not impressions. It requires official confirmation, not viral confidence. Until that happens, this story sits in a gray space. Not proven, not disproven, just suspended. And while that may feel unsatisfying, it may also be the most honest place to leave it. Because pretending certainty where there is none only creates more confusion. The responsible position is to acknowledge what we know and what we do not. We know the footage exists. We know questions were raised. We know speculation followed. What we do not know is what was inside those suitcases, why certain decisions were made, or whether any laws were broken. Everything beyond that remains interpretation. In the end, the night at LAX may turn out to be nothing more than a misunderstood moment, inflated by suspicion and amplified by the internet. Or it may one day be explained as part of a much larger story that simply has not been fully revealed yet. Both outcomes are possible. History has shown us that truth can move slowly, especially when money, power, and public image are involved. Until then, the story serves as a reminder of how quickly narratives form, how easily silence is filled, and how careful we must be when deciding what to believe. So the real question may not be what happened that night, but how we respond to stories like this in general. Do we demand proof before judgment, or do we allow patterns and feelings to replace evidence? In an age where everyone is a viewer, a commentator, and a judge, that question matters more than ever. The 7 suitcases have become a symbol, but symbols are shaped by those who look at them. Until clarity arrives, this story remains open, not solved, not closed, just waiting.